My name is Edward Lewis, and you're watching Titletown South Florida.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Titletown South Florida, the Miami Herald's high school sports show. We are back with continuing our high school football season preview. I'm Andre Fernandez, Deputy Sports Editor at the Miami Herald, joined once again by sports writer David Wilson. I'm still going to call you sports writer. I don't care if you just started law school. Until further notice, you're the co-host of this show, and we're very happy to have you here for our next edition. David, how was day one, though, in your other pursuit now?
It was all right. I learned all about contracts. I'll be negotiating NIL deals before you know it.
There you go. Agent Wilson on the case. Before you know it, he'll be we'll see him out there. We'll see him out there doing something a little different. But right now we're here to talk a little more about the season coming up. Last week's episode, if you caught it, it was about Class 4M, kind of breaking down Columbus and a few other teams that could end up winning the title there. We continue our potential look at another South Florida sweep. At least, I think we both think that all the reigning champs have a chance. Today, it'll be about Class 3M, which is headlined by defending champion St. Thomas Aquinas, which is trying to win their record-setting fifth in a row this year. But we have others. Homestead, of course, the runner-up last year, is well-equipped to make another run at it, and a few others that we're going to talk about, Southridge, Belen, Crop, a bunch of others, Ely, and we'll dive into that in this show. And remember, if you're watching the show on YouTube, you can catch it there. You can catch it on MiamiHerald.com, of course. We're appearing every week now because the football season is about to start. All the seasons are about to start with the fall sports. We can also catch it as a pod. If you can't watch the show, you can listen to it on Spotify, iTunes, whatever your favorite podcatcher is. But let's dive right in, and we're going to do it like we did in last week's episode. We're going to look first at each district and then give our breakdown, who might win it, etc., and then look at it by region and then pick our state champion. So the first district up here is 10-3M. We're going to start on the north side, and that's the one that Blanche Ely came in out of not out of nowhere in historically, but coming off a 1-9 year the year before, went 12-0, then got bounced by St. Thomas in the regional finals, but an impressive year for the Tigers. They're in that district with a very good Coconut Creek squad and a Deerfield Beach team that's trying to get back to the quality of former Bucks teams of the past, and West Boca Raton also in there as well. But David, we're looking at this district. I mean, the first three that I mentioned all seem to have a chance, but you got to almost favor Ely and then Creek. I mean, let's start with Ely. What kind of stood out with the Tigers? What do they have coming back this year?
Yeah, they lost a lot from last year, but as you kind of mentioned, it was year one with new coach Mike Bailey, and they went from 1-9 to undefeated in the regular season. That's kind of hard to bet against going into year two. I know they, like I said, they lost a lot of their top guys, but they also bring back Marcel Williams, a star wide receiver for them. That'll be their guy this year on the offensive end. Yeah, it's going to be interesting because we saw. They got a lot of transfers last year. Mike Bailey had been a coach at Deerfield Beach. You can kind of directly trace the decline of Deerfield last year, I think, to the rise of Ely a little bit. Now he's got to kind of prove he can do it again. He's been a JV coach before this, so he knows program building. So we will see if they can keep building on that. I think it's hard not to view them, though, as the favorite, considering what they did last year in year one with a new coach.
Well, I know it's kind of close, though. And I know you had in the district by district previews, which you can find on MiamiHerald.com. I think you had Creek up there as potentially, upstaging them this season. They're bringing back a bunch too. I mean, they made it to the regional quarters. I mean, again, it seems like all of these contenders lost to St. Thomas in one round or the other. Creek, unfortunately, drew the Raiders in the first round and got dispatched pretty bad, 59-14. But they went 6-5. They bring back their running back Jamari Holtzclaw. They got a couple of DNs, Aaron Brown, Martin Montero. It seems like on the defensive side is where they're most
they should be really good. Yeah, that's been kind of a little bit the story for them for the last couple of years, right? They always seem to have, whether it's the Mullen brothers who all came through there, they always seem to have a handful of sometimes they're guys who are Division I players on defense. Sometimes they're, just a wealth of talent there. I think was it 2 years ago they went on a run all the way to the region finals. Like they've had some good teams recently. To me, it's kind of a 2-team race in that district. Deerfield, I think we just need to see it from them. They're in a rebuild right now. West Boca actually has some talent. The Mallory brothers are 2 really good players they have there. Obviously not in our coverage area, so we're not super familiar with them, but it's a pretty I think it'll be a competitive district. I don't necessarily see anyone running away with it. I don't know if anyone's going to go undefeated in that district, right? Like sometimes it's just obvious that this one could be a couple teams go 3-1 or 2 teams go 3-1 or something like that. And we get some tiebreakers going on.
Yeah. I mean, it's really could come down to Ely and Creek. I mean, I don't know if Deerfield has enough yet. I mean, it was kind of a tough offseason too. They got a coaching change, Cam Thomas inheriting the 3-7 team. Some of the kids left. But I think they'll be competitive, though. I mean, the 3 of them will have their battles, and like you said, West Boca 6-4 last year, not a doormat. So up and down the district there. I mean, I don't know. I tend to lean on teams that have done it already until proven otherwise, but I wouldn't put it past Creek. I think Ely's going to come out on top, but you never know. I think
it's a toss-up between those 2, I think, and Ely's just an unknown because they lost so much.
Yeah. But moving down one district, we talked a little bit about them already. The kings of not only this district, but far and wide, one of the best teams in the nation, St. Thomas Aquinas in District 11, 3M, trying to obviously repeat there. Dillard, Fort Lauderdale, and Boyd Anderson, the challengers there. And really, when you look at all of them, even Dillard, which has been a perennial playoff team, they've taken a hit too. They changed coaches as well in the offseason. Some of the talent they have to replace, both that graduated, a blazer like Christopher Johnson that you don't see every day, and of course Armando Blunt transferring out, going to Central. Some holes there that they have to fill that they think they have. But what do you think about the Panthers? We saw them at Media Day. They still have some of those track kids, Edward Lewis and others.
Yeah.
So they'll still be talented, but tall order to take on St. Thomas.
Yeah, it feels like they're going to be a little bit more like the Dillard teams of, and I don't know, 3-4 years ago, right before they got Armando Blunt and Chris Johnson. Dillard kind of reemerged. It was actually during the COVID year. They went to the one of the Tri-County championships that year.
Yep.
It was Tyler Tate's first year as coach. And that really set the stage for a couple of years of success there. Last year, I think they really thought it was kind of like their year. They were gearing up for it in some ways. They had Chris Johnson as a senior. He was so much of the offense. They got some transfers. St. Thomas Aquinas, although they wound up being a top 10 team in the country, I think they probably finished at again. Was kind of viewed as a little bit of a down year for St. Thomas, having lost so much off the year before with Zion Turner. And they just couldn't put it together last year. And it puts them in a tough spot, I think, where they're gonna have to rebuild a little. Like you said, they've always got athletes. They've got a lot of track kids. It's a fantastic track program. They're always going to have a lot of speed because of that. But I mean, it's a tall order to ever keep up with St. Thomas Aquinas, but especially this year after they kind of missed their window, I think, a little bit last year.
Yeah, and you look at other teams in here like Fort Lauderdale, 6-5. Richard Dunbar always does a good job with them. They could be very competitive too in their own way. Their sophomore quarterback Jaden Chico's there. That kind of a young in some spots with Jabori Riggins, another sophomore, but veterans up front. Remington Roberts, a linebacker senior, Elijah Bernard Blue in the secondary. So that the Flying L's will be competitive. Boy, at BA, it's a tough spot. Al Miller Jr. taking over there. 1-9 last year. Looks like they're going to rebuild a little bit, but behind a couple of seniors there, Ashton Perkins and Demarius Brandt, a linebacker / running back. But I mean, until proven otherwise, I mean, Aquinas just hits you with wave after wave, and you saw them already in the at Media Day. That backfield alone, Jordan Lyle and Stacey Gage, one of the best in the country.
Yeah, they're super deep, which is what St. Thomas Aquinas always is. But this year, they have to replace a quarterback again. They have a little bit, there's the last couple of years they went from, obviously, Zion Turner was there for 3 years. He starts at UConn as a freshman. Last year they have Champ Harris, who ends up going to a service academy where he's can run a triple option there. And now they've got to move on. They had 2 Division I quarterbacks in a row. a little bit trickier now. But I mean, Jordan Lyle by the end of last year, that was a backfield that multiple FAU signees in it. And by the end of the year, Jordan Lyle, as only a junior, was the clear-cut guy in that backfield. They've got some good weapons at wide receiver. Chance Robinson, who's already committed to Miami. And obviously we know St. Thomas Aquinas always has just more guys on defense than anyone can deal with, like more Division I guys on defense to put on the field at once. And same is always true for the offensive line too. So, they just have the foundation that you kind of be foolish to ever pick against them, even in like a state title context at this point.
I mean, when even your punter is an All-American.
Yeah, one of the best punters in the country.
Yeah, Texas commit. I mean, that tells you how deep they are, of course. We talked to one of them. Let's see the interview you did with Ryan Mack at Media Day.
The chance to do something like this, win 4 state championships in 4 years, 5 in a row, which is something the school has never done. What would an accomplishment like that mean to you guys?
I mean, accomplishing that would mean a whole lot to me. I can speak for myself when I say that. And to the whole team, I know it's big too. And especially for Coach Harry, I feel like it will make him one of the greatest coaches ever, in my opinion. But yeah, I just feel like we have an opportunity to make history together, and we're going to go out there and seize the opportunity.
The guy, like every school now, transfers come in, transfers come out. Where St. Thomas Aquinas, everyone talks about the culture, the standard, right? The guys who have been there since they were freshmen and are seniors now, like you, Jordan, Chance, Nick. How much responsibility do you guys feel to kind of be the ambassadors for the culture that you guys have there and kind of bring guys in and bring everyone together?
I feel like I have to play a major role with the leadership aspect. In my opinion, that Coach Harry really pushing me to do that. Every day he gets on me saying, you gotta lead these guys. If somebody messes up, or we doing up downs because you guys aren't leading the team. If somebody messes up or something happens in the locker room and stuff like that. And I know that to be great, the team needs to have great leaders. No team is great without at least one good leader.
When you were a freshman, someone was obviously doing that same thing as the seniors back then. What do you remember from your freshman year in terms of guys who were, kind of teaching you the stuff that you're now teaching guys?
Yeah, I mean, our freshman year, there was COVID.
Oh, right.
So we weren't around the team as much, really. So I'm pretty sure I think all of us played JV that year. But really, we really got more into the team our sophomore year. And our sophomore year, we had great leaders on both sides of the ball, in my opinion, like Zion Turner and Mason Taylor and people like that. But in my position, we had some great DB leaders like Gerard Cameron and Turfield, the enemy. They paved the way for us to, mainly paved the way for the class 23 kids to lead us how we're supposed to be led the next year, and how they led me to get to the level that I am today. Because without me being taught to be a better player and a better person, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Well, pretty safe bet they're gonna, roll into wherever the state finals are finally going to be, which we still don't know if it's Orlando. Now I'm hearing rumors Tallahassee. I mean, who knows? But they'll be there probably at the end because of guys like Ryan Mack and the talent they have. I think Dillard's still a playoff team. I think they're still talented enough to get there, even if it's a 500 team with a tough schedule. They're still talented to get there. And I talked to Edward Lewis, actually, who I mentioned earlier, about it. Here's what Edward had to say about the Panthers, who they feel are not done yet.
Edward, tell us a little bit about this team coming back this year. This is going to be your 3rd year starting for Dillard. How excited are you to kind of keep it going over there? And you're one of the leaders on the team, so tell us about that process with with a lot of young players now.
I'm very excited about the season coming up. We got a young team. Everybody transferred. We got a young team, so everybody sleeping on us. But I feel like we're going to turn a lot of heads this year.
Yeah, when you lose a guy like Christopher Johnson, I know it leaves a big hole. But who's kind of stepping up? Where do you think you're going to be able to kind of fill that he left behind?
He was a big part of the offense. He was a big part. But we got a sophomore running back. He played just like Christopher Johnson. He got great speed, great vision.
You ran track with him. I mean, what was that? That relationship like? What did you learn from it that you've taken into this year?
I learned a lot because actually CJ, Christopher Johnson, he was in the same league like his sophomore year. He didn't really start till his junior year. So then he just was giving me game, got to work hard, grind every day. That's going to separate me.
I mean, you've got talent on this team still. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, I think if people think that Dillard's down, why do you feel like you have all the tools you need to prove them wrong?
We got all the tools that we need to prove everybody wrong. We just got to keep working hard, keep grinding together. We're going to turn it out.
Where do you feel this team might be better this year? That maybe like a weakness last year that you think this year will be a strength?
The strength about this year, we got discipline and accountability. That's it. Last year, we had discipline last year, but this season we got a lot more discipline. So that should be a big change for the team this year.
All right, well, let's wrap up Region 3 in 3M then by going down to District 12, where you have Plantation, their rival South Plantation, and Piper and Nova. And this district, not regarded as much as the other ones in this region, but Plantation this year, Steve Davis has been there a long time, and he's always had decent teams. Could take it up a little bit of a notch this season, though. It sounds like they've got they had a few transfers come in. The team with JT Tabora at quarterback, he was a Dillard before, if I'm not mistaken,
and was a first-team All-County guy 2 years ago when he was at Avant Garde. He was on the bench last year at Dillard, so.
Right, so he brings experience.
Big-time talent there, yeah.
They've got a couple good receivers, Brian Lane, Jane Williams. I mean, this team, we'll see if they can challenge. I mean, obviously they've got Aquinas in the region, but it could be a very successful year for the Colonels.
Yeah, that's the clear class of this division. Like you said, not as flashy as some of these other teams, although they always wind up 6-4, 7-3. They always end up kind of over. They're not on a lot of people's radar because they don't always have all the Division I commits, right? But they always tend to have a great wide receiver. Brian Lane seems like he could be that next guy, and I think JT Tabora has he's kind of maybe been forgotten a little bit because he was on the bench last year at Dillard, but like I said, he was a first-team All-County player for us a couple years ago at Avant Garde, so he certainly has the potential to come back and have a huge senior season.
Yeah, the rest of this division, you look at South Plantation, Colby Erskine's done a pretty good job. They've been competitive. The last year, I know they got off to a good start and then had a few losses here and there. But, this team, you never know. They could be on the cusp, 7-3. They could be on the cusp of at least making the playoffs. I know they have a new quarterback.
Bummer for them. Jaden Glasser, who was one of the most productive quarterbacks in the entire state last year, transfers to Venice. So that's a tough loss for South Plantation.
Yeah, they've got the new quarterback, junior Saqib Muhammad there, running back sophomore Xavion Pennington as well. So a few spots they have to fill, and then of course Piper at 5-4. Nova last year was 4-6. Josiah Gaynor, wide receiver corner, pretty good kid for Piper. They've got some talent with the Bengals. Large squad too. I saw them today where I was at on Monday's Dolphins practice where they invited a bunch of high school teams. And good looking team overall in terms of just physically. Look like maybe Piper can be competitive in this district.
New coaches at both those schools too, and at Piper, Quentin Short was had some really good teams at Dillard. At Douglas. Not powerhouse teams necessarily. Although I think they went undefeated one regular season not too long ago. But he's a good coach. Knows the area, that West Broward County area well, obviously, it produces he's a good offensive line coach. That's the foundation you need, right? And Piper, before my time, but everyone keeps telling me that used to be a powerhouse out there, right, in West Broward County. So we'll see if they can get back there.
Yeah, right in the middle of Broward. They're kind of, it's similar in a sense to Dillard. When you have Aquinas just a few minutes away from your school, it's kind of hard to always keep, to keep the talent in droves there. But they've had their seasons here and there. Maybe this could be one of them. But let's go down into Region 4 now and start with District 13. And there's that Dr. Krob Lightning squad that, very much follows everything we write and video and and talk about them, and we appreciate that. But they're coming off one of their best seasons in a while. All kidding aside, 2 straight district titles, but last year they broke through with a solid playoff win, beating Belen Jesuit. They're in the district with Hollywood Hills, MacArthur, and South Broward. And the Lightning, they may be the front runner to do it again. I mean, it looks like them and South Broward, but the Lightning bring back several starters. I got a chance to catch up with their coach, Tommy Caporal, over there, who's done a great job not only resurrecting that program, but really getting kids into college. Maybe not all of them go to major Power 5s or D1s, but he's done a good job of getting those kids into school. And I think the message is getting around throughout the county that it's one of the well-run programs now. And you're starting to see, because he's got kids that have come in. Ricky Joseph, a kid that's come in to their programs, finally was getting on the field as of Monday. I think Crop will definitely be competitive again. And, I don't see why they wouldn't have a shot to repeat or three-peat in this case.
Yeah, I was at their playoff game last year. I think I've said it a couple of times. Really impressive, right? No one expects Crop to, not win playoff games, make the playoffs, right? Win districts. Yeah. That's a really well-run program. South Broward's really interesting to me, though, too, because of Chris Wheatley-Humphrey, running back Miami, who is, he has a chance to be like this year's Chris Johnson, right? Just a total game breaker, one of the fastest running backs in the county. Or in the region, and that district, as we said, like Crop, they capitalized on winning that and winning a playoff game after that. But that was a 3-way tie, right, for that district. There was like some weird. Yeah. I think South Broward thought they kind of had the district won, and then some math equations that none of us can really explain with the FHSAA's power ranking system.
Yeah. It's those power rankings.
It's a really, really even district. Is my point.
Because South Broward beat Crop earlier in the season.
It was a 3-way tie, so it came down to the MacArthur beat South Broward, I think was what it was.
Yeah, they all sort of beat each other up, but the formula broke in their favor.
Super even district is the point I'm making. And Crop's really confident, though, as I'm sure. I haven't listened to your interview with Tommy Caporal, but I ran into him at Miami's Legends Camp about a month back now, I guess. And he was really confident about this upcoming season.
Yeah, I think he's got a little more depth this year, which is always the key too. And I mean, talking to them, I think on both sides, Jamal Hagan's had a good offseason, learned a lot, dual threat quarterback. So let's throw it to that. As I was able to go to the recent practice, and I talked to Jamal Hagan's, Khalil Pascal, and of course, Caleb Turner, another standout for them. Here's what they had to say about Crop season
to take it to the next level this year.
I'll say just being more disciplined. Like the players, like they really have to take it more serious, than each other. You feel me? So like just like bonding together and really pushing each other to that next level to be great. And I'll say the players need to take the coaches more seriously than we have in the past.
How's for you the college situation right now? Do you have any offers, or how's that part of it going?
Yes, as of right now, I am a 3-star recruit at DB. I have 20 plus offers, but as of right now, I don't know where I'm going. So we'll have to find that out later. But I'm really just leaving it all in God's hands.
Yeah.
Because without God, there's nothing in my life. Because He provided me with everything that I've had right now, and I'm really just thankful for Him because He's number one.
What do you like, playing more corner or safety?
For making big hits, I'll say safety, and just for interceptions, safety. But if I'm really needed at corner to lock down the best guy on the opposing team, then I'm gonna back down from the challenge. I'm really gonna accept it and look forward to it.
What do you feel like you got better the most at since last season?
My quickness, opening up, breaking downhill, my tackling, making more open field tackles, and stopping, being afraid of
like what the tackle's gonna do to my body, but really just not caring and just like take it all on.
So more like fearless, just let it loose.
Yeah, fearless. I had to learn that the hard part, because last year I was really like I'm scared, like I'm conservative of like if I go too hard I'm on this tackle, like will it mess up my shoulders and stuff. But this year I'm not really caring about that. I'm just really trying to strive to like knock somebody out the game.
Jamal, you were right in the middle of that district championship effort last year. You know, and the team made it to the second round of the playoffs. It's been a little bit since you had a season like that here at Crop. What does it take now, do you feel, to get it done and maybe take that to the next level, go even farther this year?
What it takes now is a lot of work. That's what we've been doing this off season, putting in a lot of work, getting better players. We got a couple transfers, and that's going to input to the offense and defense. We're working hard every day on the field, so we hopefully we can make it to that upper level that we want to reach.
And I saw you at a Blue Steeds camp in the off season, right? And the one that they did right here. Did you go anywhere else in the off season?
I went to the All-American camp in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going out there with some high-rated quarterbacks. So,
yeah. How was that experience for you?
It was perfect. Like, it was on a Dallas stadium. We were just throwing balls to high-ranked receivers and stuff. It was very fun. And I also went to the NC State camp. There, I threw there, and then Georgia camp. That's when we played the 7-on-7. We made it to the championship. We lost by 1 point. I threw the game before that. I threw a game-winning touchdown.
Yeah.
First play, last second. So
yeah.
I feel like this year we're gonna make it all the way to that level that we need to be from our last year.
Yeah. Gonna go out on top. Tell me, what did you learn the most? Like, what was something that you feel like it stuck with you that you're going to carry into the season that you learned from all those experiences?
Like my coach said, there's only 2 players that the game could be on. Like he taught me like to be a better leader. It's rather gonna be on. It's gonna be him and the head coach that they're gonna play the game on every game. Whether it's something wrong or right, take control in the concept in your team and take the blame for everything for your team. That's how we got. That's how we getting closer this off season. Bringing a brotherhood together. And we bonding every day.
Line up front, or you can play outside linebacker, you were telling me. But linebacker's really where you're going to go, you know, play a lot more this year, you're saying.
Yeah, I'm playing a lot more this year.
What have you gotten better at the most playing that position? What do you feel like you've improved the most in the offseason?
My footwork, staying low, being able to play in space. That's pretty much, that's what we've been working on.
Okay. Any colleges already offering you, noticing?
Yeah, I have 6 right now, 6 offers.
Okay. What do you have?
From Buffalo, FAMU, UT Martin, Central Michigan, and Akron.
Okay. What are you looking for, like wherever you end up going? Like what's your ideal school? Like what are you looking for the most in a school?
I'm looking for a place to just play. I don't want to like just wait around. You know, at least be in a rotation because I know I'm a freshman, but I still want to like play frequently. I wouldn't just go nowhere for hype. Just go somewhere I can fit at.
Any linebacker you like watching in the league or college? Anybody?
Probably Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of like, because he's a DN, but he also dropping the coverage.
Right. They can do a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, okay. What's the biggest change since last year with this team? I know you said like obviously some transfers came in, but where do you feel like you're going to be a lot better? Where people are going to be like, wow.
I feel like we're different mindset-wise.
Okay.
Like we all have a goal. Like we're not all starstruck.
Yeah.
Oh, like maybe we can do it because you know Crop doesn't have a good history in the past, so now it's more believable. Like we can make it somewhere. So I feel like our mindset's different and just the way we play is more aggressive, more down. We're gonna move down the field way faster. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gonna get in the end zone. That's pretty much
Yeah. So I mean, I think if the Lightning, they're the team to beat. But like you said, I mean, South Broward with the running back there, even Tommy Cap said it. He goes. I know South Broward got a lot better too.
Yeah,
you know,
they got a lot of
like
talent. They lost one guy to Norland, Jade Card, who I think was kind of expected to be one of their top guys, but they have a lot of talent there too. South Broward. I mean, Hollywood, another good air, right? It's probably tough for them too. The same way we talk about some of these teams with St. Thomas Aquinas nearby, Chaminade Madonna, right? Not too far away from South Broward High. I'm sure they go through some of those same struggles, but we know Hollywood has obviously a lot of talent in it.
Yeah, MacArthur, well, not forget about them. Still coached by former Dolphin Kevin Burnett. They went 5-5 last year. They're going to be counting on sophomore Florentino Lopez again, a quarterback. Adonis Ferguson and Kamari Hall, a couple of juniors. We'll see if the Mustangs can stay in the fight there and take it to Crop in South Broward. And, of course, Hollywood Hills at 4-6 last year under Coach Brandon Graham. They're going to be counting on quarterback Dylan Palicio, Delroy Paul, senior running back, a couple of good running backs for them as the Spartans try to make something. The Spartans right in the shadow of the Guitar Hotel over there near the Hard Rock Casino, not the stadium, as they're trying to make some noise in that district as well. But let's go down to District 14 now, and that involves the Miramar Patriots and that dark side defense as they try to win it all again in that district. But they might have a little more competition this year because, Everglades and Pines Charter in there. But I'm intrigued by this American team that got a lot of transfers from Avant-Garde. You know a little bit about that squad, David. Tell us a little bit about why the American Patriots might be poised for a playoff run.
George Stubbs, who had been 2 years ago was at Dade Christian, goes over to Avant-Garde. A bunch of transfers go from Dade Christian, which had been a pretty good. I guess they were 2A at that point. Pretty good small school team in Dade. A bunch of them go to Avant-Garde. Avant-Garde playoff team in 1M, obviously, like pretty much impossible to make any noise in that region with Chaminade Madonna there, but make the playoffs there, have a couple really good players. George Stubbs goes over to American as an assistant coach now. A lot of kids from that Avant-Garde team go over there with him, including DeAndre Balloon, who was a first-team All-County linebacker. His son, George Stubbs Jr., is a very good defensive lineman. Shamar Fowles, younger brother of at Florida State now, right? Will Fowles, wide receiver. Kind of one of the better, young up-and-coming player for that Avant-Garde team last year. So they have a huge infusion of talent, sort of long. I mean, in my time down here, I can't ever remember talking very much about American. I know they've had some guys and some good teams. Someone got drafted at American a couple of years ago, went to Auburn. Blanking on the name though, safety. So, they should be interesting. It's hard to pick against Miramar. They're another one of those teams that's not always the most, just doesn't have the Division I talent always necessarily, but just really good foundation, structure. Good talent in that area, even though all these Broward public schools kind of tend to lose a lot of it to the private schools. They're one of those teams that always has players and again, just a good defense every year. They've got a good wide receiver in Eric Nelson, quarterbacks back Kyle Alexander, who I know you're pretty high on after seeing him at a camp a few months back. So I like Miramar. I like American as interesting. It's hard to know because it's so many transfers, but hard to pick against Miramar given what we know about them.
When you were diving into the American High past, Olivier Vernon, there's a name
there
from
you go.
American High.
There's one.
Yeah, that back then, those American teams were really tough. They were winning 8 or 9 games a year, always a playoff team. So they're trying to restore that. And the head coach, Tim Neal, a good friend of mine for a long time, he was at Southwest, was at Coral Gables for a long time. So him and Stubbs working together over there, it may mean good things for a school that's really hasn't had a lot of success athletically in recent years in any sport, at least not on a team in a team sport anyway. So we'll see if American can put it together. Mm-hmm. Of course, Miramar, like you talked about, not just Kale Alexander, but Shamar Makel on the defensive side as well. I mean, this is still a very talented Miramar team that feels like they were close. They feel like they kind of let the game slip away against Homestead last year, and they're going to be tested right out of the gates. They're in that Broward showcase. So we'll see. We'll see how far if Coach AJ Scott, who comes from the old David Cogdale school over there when they were winning state titles, Tracy Howard and guys like that. So we'll see if they can turn it around and not turn around, keep it going. Actually, coming off the 10.
They're still trying to get to that next level, right? A lot of these Broward schools we're talking about, they're always in the playoffs, maybe win a playoff game. All kind of looking for that next level, though.
Yeah. And we've seen, and Miramar,
it's hard. It's really hard in 3M right now because
of the road.
A lot of these schools were in 7A with St. Thomas Aquinas, right? So it's a tough spot to be in, but competitive year in year out gets you somewhere.
Yeah, when Miramar had those years that they actually would beat St. Thomas, they were up on the level when not just have future NFL guys like that, but they had like Geno Smith and others, but they had depth. They had like that same 2 deep at several spots, all that. And that remains to be seen if any of these teams are going to have that. But I do think I agree with you. I think they did definitely win the district. American looks to me like the runner-up. I know Everglades and Pines Charter, we haven't talked much about them, but Kenley Israel at linebacker, senior for Rodney Rump's squad for the Gators. And Keedron Willis, who's been at Pines Charter for a while, has done a good job. Got him into the playoffs last year at 6-4. So his son there, Keedron Willis Jr., Jaden Gonzalez, a freshman. So it'll be tough to crack through that squad this year. But, I mean, I think they're still definitely in a position to be competitive in District 14. But
yeah, second place is open until we see what American looks like, right? You can't bank on it, them taking that big of a step forward. But second place feels like it should be open there.
Yeah, and another team hoping to repeat in District 15 is the North Miami Pioneers. Larry Bluestein's alma mater. Went 5-6 last year, made it to the quarterfinal round. Coach Gerald Cox is Ice Harris disciple, coached at Booker T for a while. Done a good job there bringing up the program. Unfortunately, sadly, they had a tragic occurrence in the off season. Their quarterback, Mekhi Stevenson, was killed, and it's really motivated the Pioneers this year to play for his memory and to really make something happen to the season. They've got a few guys, a couple seniors leading the way. Their quarterback, Michael Zephyrin, Gerson Alette, a senior running back and strong safety as well. So an experienced squad for Coach Cox.
Yep. I mean, he's, like you said, even at Booker T, I know those teams that weren't at the level of the Booker T that Ice Harris has gotten them to. But going back to even when he was at Coconut Creek, he's got playoff teams pretty much every year, right? And obviously a sad situation there. But I think this team should still be pretty good in this district, especially.
Yeah, and you look at the rest of the district: Hialeah, Mater Academy, Miami Beach. Pretty competitive. Tony Smith, coach at Hialeah, that went 4-5 last year, has a couple two-way players leading the way this year: Abdullah Gosha and Jalen Jackson. Miami Beach with Alex Terry, they went 2-8, tough year, but they lose a kid like Ricky Joseph to Crop. That complicates things, of course. Yeah. But they have some talent, especially that skill level. Mitch Joseph at wide receiver, Willie White at cornerback, and Mater Academy under Frank Morales trying to turn it around. Freshman Quintero Frierson, wide receiver. The Lions went 3-7 last year, so we'll see. We'll see if they can make some noise. But definitely North Miami feels like the front runner to win it in that district once again this year overall. And last but not least, when you look at, here's the district definitely in Region 4 that looks like the strongest, and not just because it has last year's state runner-up Homestead, but it's Homestead, Southridge, an improving Southridge team, a Belen team that looks like it's going to be a lot better. Southwest in there too, Coach Taj Marshall. They went winless last year. It's a tough slate. They have a senior, Leroy Lee, coming back at linebacker. I know that's going to be an uphill battle for them with the three teams that are in front of them. Let's start with those defending state runners-up. Actually, let's start with Southridge first, the team that actually beat Homestead.
They did
during the season. Granted, Joshua Townsend, quarterback for Homestead,
won the district, right? Weird, won the district, but Homestead was the one seed because of our strange playoff system we have now.
Yeah, I was going to say they were a little they were undermanned at that time because Townsend was out for that game. Came back and won it when Townsend was back in the game, but still a victory that Southridge really had something tangible to kind of build off of as Coach Senadis gets them going over there. And I got a chance to talk to Pierre a little bit as we did in the spring. Here's what he had to say at Media Day.
Coach Pierre Senadis, tell us a little bit about Southridge this season. Strides were made last year, no doubt. I know just developing the team, kind of getting it back to kind of what the Southridge of old. Tell us about that process this offseason. What did you see out of these guys going into the season?
I know it's becoming cliche, the word culture, but that's been our big mantra, is developing a true culture of discipline and work ethic. We're really fighting for our respect, even though we won the district. As we look at the preseason polls, the rankings, even how our kids are being recruited, doesn't seem to be on par. And again, we're watching from afar, from the advantage of social media and blogs and media resources. But the focus and accolades have important to our program the way we think it should be. And so we've really been talking about earning our respect and outworking our opponents, really focusing on our goals, which is being the best student athlete, winning our district, winning the South, dominating our rivalries, creating an atmosphere and environment where student athletes and parents and families want to send their kids and be a part of a school that colleges want to recruit. I want a Southridge student athlete because their work ethic, their competition, their training is going to be on par to any program in the country.
What do you have coming back? Well, tell us a little about this roster going into this season.
Really fun. I think we have one of the most exciting receiver rooms. I know that South Florida, that's again become cliche, but we have 4 Division I receivers on our roster, and I think our youth in that position just seems to be a wealth of talent for whatever reason. It's really accumulated in that one particular group. Our quarterback's extremely talented. As far as arm talent, I think Taylor Truth has one of the best arms that you'll see in South Florida. Has a baseball background. Father played at Texas A&M. Really has matured. I think coming into his first full year of varsity this year, it's going to be exciting with the weapons he has around him. We've really improved the offensive line with returners, and the business of football has changed. So the transfer model, you see it in college, you see it in soccer, and you see it now in high school. So we've been able to have some young men that were in our community come back home. They're really going to help us. We've had 3 offensive line starters come in. That's really going to change that room. I think that was a glaring weakness for our team last year. We had a great character individuals, but I think sometimes we were just gunned. They were just a little bigger, stronger. I think we were in that particular room. But I think with Ricky Martinez coming in at 6'3", 315. Eddie Galvez now almost 280, 6'3", at left tackle, right guard. Aaron Stevenson coming at center. Chris Nelson, 6'2", 265 coming at guard. Really changed our particular room. Sergio Zambrano. Again, we look like a small collegiate offensive line up front with guys that have tremendous amount of reps and experience on Friday nights. So it won't be their first time on Fridays. Sometimes you elevate a junior varsity. We have a great junior varsity program we're going to build within, but it's hard in year 1 for me to take a kid that's never played on varsity, throw him on varsity, expect him to play Booker T and Norland and Carroll City and Jackson and Homestead like we did last year. So this year we're really excited about solidifying our interior, our defensive line is talented as anybody. With Spencer Voss, Cameron Wilson, and we have another addition, Tyler Davis coming in and really accentuating that front. And on the back end, we have some phenomenal athletes as well as having South Florida. Curtis Bryant, who kind of linchpin at safety. Alton Smith, the dual sport guy, track and field. Star coming back to year 3, really developing at corner this year. Another addition, Irish Bruton the 4th coming from Somerset Homestead at corner. Again, a 3-year starter coming in. So we've been able to really get experience. Guys to come in and turn rooms that were a little underwhelmed and really make them stronger. Add a tremendous depth and experience and of character as well. Got some great kids coming in the program.
Yeah, I love their receivers. I mean, when you look at Jaquan Reed, Glenn Smith III, 2 seniors, they're really good. I mean, the question I guess is going to be at quarterback. Can they, have a guy that can really produce there, because they're going to need it when they take on Homestead again this season.
Yeah, Homestead, given what they did last year, given that they were able to keep all of it together, Josh Townsend back, kind of most important of all. Hard to pick against them, but this Southridge team is clearly on the rise. A more established coach, frankly, at this point. No disrespect to Homestead, but just a first-time coach there. So, the culture stuff that he talks about is a cliche. I mean, down south in Homestead, whatever, deep South Miami-Dade County, that's really important because in my time in South Florida, all 3 of those schools, Southridge, South Dade, and Homestead, have all been powers at various points and all been like doormats at various points. And there's a lot of talent down there. He mentioned kids coming home to Southridge, like kids who are in their area. I remember talking to Philip Simpson about the exact same thing at Homestead when he got that job there.
Right.
I think it can be cyclical there, and I don't expect that Homestead is falling off right now. I think they're still my pick in that district, but it would not be surprised to see Southridge kind of like rise again.
And they're not in this class, but that South region, it was always them and Killian too. And now Killian going through a little bit of a rebuild themselves, but it seems
Palmetto
like
seems to be a little bit of a different class, right? But
right.
like they're a little bit more established now, I think, and a little bit different demographically. But
right.
Yeah, those 3 and Killian, and obviously there's a lot of small private schools down there too that have not yet really kind of become.
Yeah, Somerset Silver Palm is trying to build up a charter school.
Change a lot down there too, but for now,
right.
I mean, I think Southridge, they're clearly in the upswing, and we've seen teams quickly rise in the southern part of Miami-Dade County.
Yeah, but I always like what Belen does. I mean, I think last year, 5-6. Yes, they lost in the first round, but that game was down to the wire.
Yep.
And you look at some of the guys they bring back. Kamani Alexander, one of them, running back, wide receiver, senior on defense. Yes, they lost Bryce Fitzgerald and they lost Davion Dixon to transfers, but Gavench Marcelin's still there. They're still going to be competitive. I think they'll still have a chance to at least vie for another playoff spot with Coach Don Chaney leading the way.
Definitely. Gavench Marcelin has been one of the better defensive ends in Dade County for the last couple of years. Kamani Alexander is a guy they're really high on. Tyler Brown, I think it was now a sophomore, was a freshman last year. People think he has a chance to be one of the top guys in that class. They've got a lot of talent. I think if they had been able to keep some of it together, they had a chance to be really, really good. And maybe in that Southridge tier, they're probably a step below right now, but I still think a playoff team, definitely. Especially you look at, there are a lot of this region. Most of the districts have like one team that we know is the favorite, and then a bunch of other teams that we have a bunch of question marks around them. This is the one district where it's like, yes, Homestead is the clear favorite because of what they did last year and what they were able to keep intact. But these other two teams would be, they'd compete in every other district, I think, in this region.
Yeah. And for those of you that maybe don't know how it's picked these days, it does go like we were talking about before. It goes by the power ranking. So, those two, whoever the 2 out of 3 that don't win that district, they're probably going to have good seasons. They're probably going to have a lot of good quality victories, and that'll vault them in ahead of.
And they're going to have a hard schedule because that district is good.
Yeah, and also Southridge plays a lot of good competition outside of the district. Yep. Belen does too. So that all adds up those quality points, and that's what happened last year. Like one district had, I think, 3-4 teams, and it could happen again. Mm-hmm. But let's go to Homestead and the aforementioned Joshua Townsend, who helped hold it all together down in Homestead last year after Coach Philip Simpson left. Here's what he had to say about the Broncos.
So Josh, on the field last year, right after the Aquinas game, we asked you, and you knew that this team was going to stick together and make another run at it. Here we are months later, and that's exactly what happened. How's the process been like as you guys get ready to try to take that one last step and become a state champion?
The process is going good so far. We've been putting the work in. We got new guys coming in, so we helping them learn new plays, get everything together, and once we get it to 100%, we're going to be up and running.
What's Eduardo Nunez was talking a lot about just the friendship you guys have, and it's not that common where when you see like a linebacker and a quarterback kind of like have the bond that you guys have. Yeah. How did that kind of develop, and how cool is that in a way, because you're both kind of like the quarterbacks, one on each side?
He came in my sophomore year. Once he came in, I just knew like he was gonna be a brother to me. Ever since then, we just been hanging out, going to the gym, ice cream and stuff together. That's my brother. We trying to go win something that the school never did before. So if I'm on the same page and he on the same page as me, then we just one step away from getting the ring that we want.
Seeing how the Homestead community down there reacted last year when you guys went on the run, how hungry has that made you guys to do that? Not just do that again, but this time finish the job and get the championship.
That made us real hungry because we know that we got a city behind us that's really take the step that we ready to take, and they really happy and they want the same thing that we want. They want, so that made us real hungry.
What was the biggest takeaway? Obviously, it didn't go the way you want, but you were right there with them, for most of the game. So, what do you feel it's going to take to get over the hurdle?
We gotta keep our foot on the gas all 4 quarters. We gotta keep. We got tired last year, but this year, we just gotta stay healthy, keep running, don't take our foot off the gas.
How much better do you feel, or what areas do you feel like you've gotten better as a quarterback since last year?
That I got better in communicating, holding my guys accountable, and just sticking with the course. Don't overthink the game. Just go with the flow.
Cortez Mills, one there too. James Randall. They got a ton of wide receivers that transferred.
Yeah, they added. Yeah, James Randall coming from out of state. We were worried about them losing. They added.
Yeah, I'll put it this way: like they could have a wave of. I'm not wishing this upon them. It's not a jinx. Sorry, Bill Homestead. But let's say if forbid like it happened that where they drop a few guys drop with injuries or something, they're going to have replacements at wide receiver, quality guys. I mean, that's one position they are completely stacked. And of course, on the defensive side of the ball, Eduardo Nunez, who we mentioned, had a tremendous state championship game against Aquinas, and he's the leader on that side of the ball. Mills plays some free safety too, but Nunez is basically the quarterback on that side, and we talked to him a little bit. Here's Eduardo talking about what's coming up for Homestead.
So Eduardo, tell us a little bit about trying to build off. Last year was a great season for you guys, got to the final. Obviously, you want to get that one last step and get that championship this year. How's the process been like trying to build off it?
Working day in and day out at practice. I feel like the most important thing is staying healthy. We had a lot of guys get injured last year. Just got to make sure we stay healthy. But so far, the spring's been great. We've just been working, getting 2 a day. We've been lifting, get on the field, lifting, get on the field. We did. So I just feel like last year was just a stepping stone to show that we have the talent, we have the drive to get there, and we just got to complete the drill this year.
When Coach Simpson left, a lot of people wondered if the group would stay together.
Yes, sir.
Why did you guys stay together?
We felt because we're a big player-led team. We have a lot of captains. We have a lot of veterans coming back this year. So we just know that he told us himself that he wants us to stay together and do it basically for him. But yeah, we knew that we had to stay together because we had a mission and we're gonna get it done.
And Coach Thornton being a familiar face, someone that was already there, how much did that help?
It helped a lot because Coach Thornton had been alongside of Coach Simpson for a good minute. So I feel like there's nobody better to fit the shoes for Coach Simpson.
You had a great championship game, a great season, but you really like the game itself against Aquinas. What did you take from that? How much has that carried over for you in everything you've done the last few months?
I felt like I love playing against very, very good competition. So I'm knowing that after that game, we lost, but I knew myself that if I could play against the best of the best, that I know that coming in this year that I just got to take one game at a time and dominate as much as I can to show that I am one of the best linebackers down south.
How much did that game raise your profile? Did you get more interest from schools or anything like that?
I've spoken to after that game. I got a few more Twitter DMs from a few schools. I got a few phone calls. I received a few more offers, about 2 more offers from that. And then I started building up from there, and that game really helped a lot.
Is there any linebacker that you have watched before growing up that maybe someone that you looked up to, or someone that you maybe, or have you met anybody, trained with anybody?
I've trained with Coach Spence. I think right now he just accepted the job at Western Michigan, but he played in the league, Spence. But someone that I've been watching for a while is Sewell, the linebacker came from Oregon. Yeah, he's nice. I like him.
What do you feel you guys need to do to complete the mission and win it all? What's it going to take?
You got to stay glued together, make sure one heartbeat, one sound. We just make sure everything goes through each other, communicate. I feel like the key for us is staying healthy, because once we're healthy, I feel like no one's really messing with us on the field.
In the offense, what have you seen out of those guys on the other side? I mean, a lot of the same faces and guys that were leaders on the team. Like how they look from your point of view?
We look really good, especially having a new receiver coming in, Darrell Harper. He's very explosive, so I'm knowing like in the slots from losing Richard Dandridge and Javon Robinson that we have some guys filling in those shoes in those quick positions in the middle, in the slot position. We obviously have Cortez Mills outside and also James Randall.
Well, there you have it, the Homestead Broncos, and we've gone through all 7 districts, and now it's time to make our picks. David, I think it's going to be a rematch, probably a little bit better, maybe a little more competitive, maybe down to the wire the way Central and Heritage was, but until proven otherwise, I can't see somebody beating St. Thomas. I just think they have so much depth, like we said before, and ultimately that makes the difference. I think they end up hoisting the trophy and potentially becoming one of the 2 teams along with Central to win that 5 in a row. Do you think it'll still be Aquinas and Homestead, or does somebody jump in there and maybe, change the matchup?
Yeah, for now, I have to do probably a little bit more research on the rest of the state, but to me, it's St. Thomas Aquinas, I think, is the pretty clear number 1, but Homestead, again, doesn't seem like they should be significantly worse than they were last year. And, they were like very clearly the second best team in that classification last season, considering how close they hung with St. Thomas. They went on the road and won in the state semifinals. Yeah, I'll go with you. St. Thomas over Homestead seems like a pretty good pick to me.
Yeah, I mean, if there is anybody that could upstage it, it could be that team that you said that like Homestead went to on the road and beat in Orlando, and that's Jones High. Jones High is still
always. They're just always good. Yeah.
Yeah, and Tampa Jesuit too. Tampa Jesuit is in that.
Jesuit's good. They were really, really good. You know, they won the state championship 2 years ago. So yeah. That's just another really good program too.
Yeah, and we'll see that. We'll see Tampa Jesuit against one of our teams locally. They of course played. They came down to play Columbus last year. Columbus beat them. Now the reverse. Now Columbus goes up to Tampa. I believe it's in week 2 to face Jesuit. So we'll see kind of how they stack up. Maybe get a good indicator of that. I know they're bringing back a lot of their key players were young last season, so Jesuit's still going to be a threat for sure. But anyway, that's our rundown for Class 3M. Be sure to join us next week when we do a combo of Class 2M and Class 1M to wrap up our season preview. We're in preseason classics mode this week. Some good ones coming up. Edison and Miramar, of course, kick it off on Wednesday out at Traz Powell, but a few other intriguing matchups. We've got, of course, the big one on Friday night, Heritage facing Booker T. Washington over at Traz, but a few other Chaminade taking on Northwestern. Palmetto taking on Doral, Norland taking on Ely. Granted, these won't count towards the power rankings because they're classics, but intriguing matchups nonetheless. And we know that preseason high school football gets taken seriously just as much as the regular season sometimes. So looking forward to that. David, you'll be out there at least for the Chaminade Northwestern game. Looking forward to that one. It was competitive last year for a couple quarters until Chaminade blew it open. Interested to see what the Bulls have this year coming back.
Yeah, it's kind of seems like on paper a little bit of a rebuild year for Northwestern. We'll obviously talk more about that next week.
Right.
But a young team for them. But Chaminade is like not gonna shy away from like trying to make a big statement in this one.
Yeah, for sure. And that's only the first of several big games for them. And that was your little sprinkle of what's to come next week as we talk about Chaminade and 1M, Northwestern, and many others in the most loaded class of all, Class 2M. But for now, we thank you guys as always, for watching and listening. For David Wilson, I'm Andre Fernandez, and we will see you guys next week.